In this video, we're going to look at how you can import the frames that you've created, the file that you created in Photoshop, so that you can start actually animating your own sequence in Premiere Pro. So you open up Premiere Pro. I've created a new folder. I'm calling it Video Nature for my test shots. But you can organise yourself in whatever way you want. If you're using lots and lots of animated sequences, lots of frames, then you will want to create folders. Okay, so you start off by importing the Photoshop file. So if you've created a PSD file, you can go into Photoshop, you can go into where you've saved that, My Project Creative, and import that. But it's very important when you actually import it, don't just import it and merge all the layers. Actually create a file which is the individual layers and make sure that they are all selected if you actually do want to use them. And that will mean that all your individual layers that you created are actual individual frames. You click on OK. That then creates a folder within my folder which has all the images that you want. As we saw in the other video, if you've labelled them all neatly, you know what they are. So image 1 is mouth slightly open. So if we drag and drop that into Premiere, we can see that that's our image. The next image is mouth slightly to the side, so it looks like there's some kind of speech. Mouth open a bit more, so we can see across we've got a bit of movement. However, that's going to be quite slow when we play it back because we've got very, very long durations. You don't necessarily need to do this frame by frame, but you need to cut down the durations so they're more realistic, maybe 2 or 3 frames. So what you can do for that, you can either open up the scale of your image like that, or you can use the plus and minus keys, and basically you just play around getting something that seems to be comfortable, so you can just move them around and get something that feels good. It's good not to have things too sort of the same, otherwise it looks a little bit automated. Sometimes it's quite good to just go intuitively, and obviously if you're matching it to actual speech, let's see if I can match this. No, it's difficult to match it to my own speech. It's also a little bit stilted, so I'm just going to render that and actually have it starting at the beginning of my sequence. Yes, hello, good morning. That's a little bit stilted. But if we actually use all of the images, so let's just get the other ones, they may still be a little bit long. Let's make them a bit bigger. You probably want them to be, 3 or 4 frames. You can fine-tune things. But what you can also do is, obviously, once you've got something that works, you can copy and paste. So make sure your marker is in the right place, and then you can also, move some of the fragments around. So let's see what we've got now. I'm also going to just render that. So when I speak, that looks quite believable, not quite matching my speech, but you can play around with it. Also, I'm noticing now I have got 1 or 2 little marks. I could go back into Photoshop and just tidy those up. But what you can do is, if I just go into my folder, I think I've got some images that you can actually get another image which you can place. Actually, let me do this. Didn't do this quite in the right order. So I'm going to actually take those, put them on the upper, and actually now I can make that, just make the scale fit and adjust it so it looks as if the sofa could be there. And now I've got my background. What I can also do in Premiere, you can animate things like light sources. So you could actually take the sun and make the sun appear as if it was moving a little bit. You could also take this image into Photoshop and actually just make some of the grass move a little bit. You could actually play around with some of the layers and actually create more layers to create more sort of believable effects. But basically, we've got a little sequence there which works quite nicely. If we go to another one, which I was playing around with earlier, I've actually given it some sound and tried to match it up a little bit better. So this is our final result. That was a bit soft, but you get the picture.